All right, hello. It is Saturday. It's officially been 1 week since I started my cut. I'm putting laundry away right now as we speak. Life as a mom. I can't make a YouTube video without actually doing something because that would waste too much time, and we don't have a lot of it these days. So, cute shirt for Chris. The first week was a good success, as we kind of already knew it was going to be. It's always the biggest drop that you see when you do a diet. So I weighed myself 5 times over the 7 days. I forgot a couple. I like to weigh myself every day because I like to take an average for the week. I find that when people don't weigh themselves daily, they might just weigh themselves on a good or bad day, and then it just completely messes up their interpretation of what's actually going on. So the weights that I had, and I'm trying to remember, 74.5, 74.2, 73.5, 72.7, 73.6, and then today I weighed in at 73.1. So the average for the week, when I added them all up and divided them by 5, the average ended up being that I was 73.4 or something like that. And so that's what I tell myself my weight is. Even though there was one day that I stepped on the scale and I was 72.7, and there was another day this morning where I stepped on the scale and I'm 73.1, I'm not now going to expect that that's where I should be, because again, those were the 2 top numbers. But this is what people do wrong, is they see a number that they like, and then all of a sudden that's the expectation. You need to take the average. What is the average of your week? That is your true weight, and that is the true trend of what's been going on. Now, another thing I should say is I did not do well last night. Last night, I actually accidentally overate by 400 calories, and I'll explain that whole thing. My meal plan for this week has basically been having oats with protein powder and frozen berries. And then for lunch, I'm having prawn tacos, so 2 corn tortillas with about 100 grams of prawns, or I should say 125, grams. And then having some like veggies and low-fat mayonnaise. For a snack, I'm having Cocoa Pops with protein powder. And then what I've been doing is I've been saving about 900 calories for my dinner. And so by doing that, I can enjoy whatever dinner I do with my family. Now, what I found in the past is if I keep my dinners, like, so for example, if my partner Chris makes spaghetti bolognese, if I take a bowl, zero out the scale, scoop 450 grams of that, that's my like portion size to assume it will be around 800 to 900 calories. Now, does this mean that sometimes I'm underestimating, sometimes I'm overestimating? Yes. And that plan is that usually I'll be underestimating, which to me, that's why that one day I probably went down to a 72.7. Like, it would have been a night that I really probably undercalculated that food, and that's all good. I know that's probably why that number went so low. But yesterday, even though I saved the 900 calories, I actually had, I was able to actually properly track it because we made bao, like those soft buns with breaded chicken bites, and it was so yummy. But when I tracked it, it ended up that my total was 400 calories above what my deficit's supposed to be. So yesterday I only ate in a 100 calorie deficit, not 500 calorie deficit. That's okay, because I didn't overeat past that, but again, it would disrupt my results. So today, I do want to be a bit more, I guess, safe with how I'm tracking, just to make sure I don't go and lose the progress. And especially because this is now the weekend. So the weekend is when it is the most challenging to follow a deficit. We are going for family lunch today. I do not want to bring a Tupperware. Like, when I'm bodybuilding and prepping and cutting, yes, I would bring a Tupperware and eat everything to the gram. But this is supposed to be a general population diet. I want to show you that you can see results with certain amounts of accuracy, but also certain amounts of lenience as well. My little sweeties making little sounds.
Hello, baby girl.
So I don't want to bring food. I'm going to just be sensible about what I eat at the family dinner. And they're having like a silver side with cheesy potatoes, and there'll be veggies, and there'll be other carbs. And I just won't have the cheesy potatoes. It's the one thing I'd want to eat, but I don't know how to eat that in a way and stay in a diet. It would be very caloric. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I can eat still with the family, but I do want to be sensible. And that's what I think people do wrong with dieting. They think, I have to eat out of a Tupperware or else I'm not going to see results. And really, it's like, if I just use this lunch as my 900 calorie, I can't figure it out meal, then I can enjoy a sensible meal with my family and then still track my dinner at night. And that's, to me, the way to be balanced about this whole thing. Now, there will come a time where I can't do the 900 average that I'm doing right now. That works because this is the beginning of my diet. But your body will always plateau. And so there's going to be a week coming up where suddenly my scale doesn't budge. And when that happens, then I will start to also make sure I'm weighing and tracking my dinners and not just leaving an arbitrary number hoping that that's how many calories I'm eating. Because that's just what happens. Your body's going to adapt, and you want to make sure that you don't expect that the thing that started working is what you're going to have to keep doing, because that's not the way our body works. We need to keep adapting with our changing body. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. I've got a lot to clean right now. I'll check in with you on Monday and let you know how the weekend went. All right, good morning. So that training session that you just watched, I'm in between programs. So I'm starting a new program next week after we move. And because of that, I've just been kind of playing around. I've been really into trying to learn Olympic lifting, so like power cleans, of course, with a push press, which you would have seen at first. And I know if you're an Olympic lifter, you are probably cringing at my technique, but it is a work in progress. I also like doing some sort of pull, of course, with motherhood, holding baby, wanting my back to feel supported. I also love doing a Turkish get-up, just for like uneven balance and coordination and strength. So I've been throwing that in at the end. And that was basically my session. So this week, what I want to talk about is I really want to dive into the macronutrients and the process of dieting properly without being in an extreme. So if you have never dieted properly before, if you've only ever done extreme dieting, the first thing that you would do, or what I would suggest you to do, is for 1 week, eat exactly the same, but weigh yourself 5 times in 7 days. Take all 5 measurements, add them together, divide them by 5, and find out what your average weight actually is. And you can't do this and start adjusting your nutrition. You have to be honest. Just eat normally as you do and find out your real weight. Because if you adjust the way you're eating because you're weighing yourself, you've already messed up your process. So you have to be really honest in this process. Once you find your average weight, what I would then suggest, and I'm not your coach, but I'm just trying to help people who want to know how to do this, I would say pick an arbitrary average of calories. Let's say 2,000 calories. For 1 week, if you've never done this before, I would say try to eat 2,000 calories with, let's say, 100 grams of protein. I'm going very beginner for people who have never done this. 25 grams of fiber. Whatever else your carbs say, your fats say, who cares? Just start with that and see what happens. So you would make a meal plan and you would say, okay, 2,000 calories. I could have 2 eggs, toast, this, that, whatever for breakfast. I could have a wrap with whatever for lunch. I could have rice and steak and broccoli for dinner, and for snacks, whatever fits. You try to fit those calories. All of the food that you are tracking would be the raw weight. So before you cook the steak, put it on the scale and find out how big it is. Try to add that all into MyFitnessPal beforehand and track it all. And make sure you know what the size of everything needs to be to fit your 2,000 calories. So you have to create a meal plan. And of course, this is why people hire coaches. If this is already too overwhelming, you definitely need a coach. That is a very simple task for coaches to do for you. Once you have your meal plan, and once you have your calories, and you know you're hitting a decent amount of fiber and protein, you then weigh yourself every day that week, or say 5 times that week. Add them all together, divide them by 5, and then see what your new weight was based off that amount of calories. Now, for some of you, 2,000 calories is going to be a diet. For others, 2,000 calories might be too much food. And so either the scale is going to go up or down, and it doesn't matter, but you're now understanding if 2,000 calories is a diet, if it's maintenance, or if it is surplus. If it's a surplus, if it's too much food, cut 200 calories every day. See if 1,800 is your maintenance. For another week, do the same thing. Or you might find 2,000 is fat loss. I know you're probably excited, but that's not the plan right now. Right now you're trying to find your maintenance. So the next week, eat 2,200 calories. See if you, again, lose or gain or stay the same weight. Once you find your maintenance, which means that for that week, the average of the scale doesn't change, then you now know what your maintenance calories are, and now you can go into a proper diet that won't be extreme, but will give you the exact, results. I shouldn't say exact, but the theoretical results that we expect. Let me explain this on the whiteboard. I realize you won't be able to see me too well, but for example, my calories at maintenance, 2,700. Now, that's an average. I'm a breastfeeding mother. I have a toddler. I move around a lot. Every day is different. We don't exactly know what our maintenance is, but it's an average. So mine is 2,700. So that means that to diet, I then subtract 500 calories. So at first, my diet calories are 2,200. A 500 calorie deficit, we could imagine losing 500 grams to 1 kilo per week. That's the average that we would expect. No one's textbook, but we think that way. So in week 1, my weight went from 74.5 on average to 73.4 on average. So I lost just over a kilo. Now week 2, I was 73.4, and I have a feeling I'm going to end up around 73 kilos. Now I'm saying that because I'm just noticing it's really tracking around 73.0 and it's not changing too much. So I can just see the average will probably be there. So what we can see is in week 2, I didn't lose 500, I lost just less. So I'll explain that more in a moment. So if I'm totally honest with clients, I would keep the plan exactly the same because it's still too early to know if someone's plateauing. For the sake of this series, I am going to start changing, and I'll explain why, because it's starting to slow down. But just please know, for a lot of people, and again, I don't feel stressed right now. This is a really easy diet for me, so it's okay for me to add more intensity because my body is fine. If someone else had any degree of stress showing up in their body, you would not want to do that. In any case of someone being more stressed out, there's no point in pushing too hard. You just don't need to. Sometimes I could stay here and I could still continue to lose 500 grams per week this whole time. Like, we just don't know, right? But again, I want to show you another strategy. So in this first 2 weeks, I have been eating 2,200 calories, but in saying that, I've basically reserved 900 calories for my dinners, so I could eat anything with my family. And all the other calories were accounted for, tracked, measured, weighed, all of that stuff. And the way that I estimated it, like I explained earlier, is if, say, I'm having a mixed meal. When I say mixed meal, I mean there's carbs, fats, proteins, vegetables, everything in it. I know vegetables are carbs, but adding all of that in it. And what I was doing was weighing out a 450 gram serving and just pretending that that's 900 calories, even as a more general way of doing this. But now that I can see my process is starting to slow down, I'm not changing my calories because, first of all, I wasn't even accurate. I've been averaging and generalizing. So now what I'm going to do in week 3, keep the calories and everything completely the same. However, I'm only going to do that with 2 meals per week. For the other 5 days, I'm going to actually weigh and measure everything of that day for 5 days so that I can see the accuracy first before I intensify anything. And this is an important step that a lot of people forget. They don't realize their inaccuracies and they just want to push and go hard, but really it's like, whoa, let's just scale it back for a sec and see what else we can actually do in this process right now. So I'll still have like 1 free takeout with my family a week and another meal that can be like mixed. I always say spaghetti bolognese, we have that quite often. So that will be that 1 450 gram that I'll do, but everything else I'll have individually. And it's actually, there's a lot of family meals that you can do this way that are still easy to track. An example, you could do a make your own taco night, make your own bao night, like the bao buns. You could do make your own rice bowl night. Anything where you can have like the carb, the protein, the veggies, the sauces separate and you add it, you can make work with accuracy. You know, I could cook my own protein on the side where my family has whatever for taco night. If I say have chicken breast and they're having mince, I could cook that on the side, they have theirs. I know exactly how much mine is. We all have flat corn tortillas. You weigh out those, you put your meat, you weigh out your veggies, you add your sauce, you weigh it out, you're good to go. So it's like, it can still be very inclusive for families, but the best thing to do is to think of those make your own type of dishes where it's not all mixed, and then you can be a lot more accurate. You can think like steak, potatoes, broccoli, salmon, rice, salad, you know, like all of these things you can easily portion and control and track. So that's essentially what I'm going to do for week 3. After week 3 of doing this, week 4, I might start to change my calories. I might go down to 2,000, for example. Just by then I'll be in the middle of this whole diet, so I might just do a little gentle push, and that's probably where I'm gonna stay, to be honest. Again, I'm breastfeeding, I'm not in an extreme, I'm just trying to shave. I basically was hoping to get to around 70 kilos, so I shave about 4.5 kilos off, and then I'm happy to live there, still at a healthy body fat percentage for the fact that I'm a breastfeeding mother. So I just wanted to explain that this week. If you have any questions, please send them my way. The more questions I get, the more I can share on this whole series to better help people understand the process and how to see the best results yourself. All right, off to work.